Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? What does sensorality stabilize? So overall, we're looking to show that direct iteration. Sensorality is not a well-defined word, but we are looking to show that syllability, the letters that are consistent with sensorality, show how they pair up or iterate into another word form, and then how that word form relates to all other ontology, producing a natural definition. Words are naturally defined, they come into existence with something exists, then you say the opposite of that, the inverse of that, the not that. It's kind of its limit, its bound, and that happens naturally by this differentiation of our base of sound and then that representation of that sound, of that conceptualization, of that meaning with letters. So we've proven that speciality is special with an ITY, our fundamental empirical evidence. People get called special. So I didn't pick that word, you didn't pick that word. What is speciality? As a concept, it's literally any behavior that gets somebody called special. Speciality elicits specialness. And so sensorality is some sort of inversion or relation or opposition to that concept and to that linguistic representation. So we're trying to find that linguistic representation, that inverse, and that will be the proof, right? The overall conceptualization, right? What is censorship? What is sentience? What are senses? All of those empirical evidence, all of those words are well defined. We are proving its completeness. And so exhausting a certain amount of that syllability to reduce this entire logical structure, this whole derivation from rhythm to algorithm, we are now on part 400. But it will leave us all, take all of this analysis that we've been doing and reduce down to a single working definition. What is sensorality? Speciality is special with an ITY, and we're finding that it's the base of sensorality. And we've been specific about which word we use, base or first, meaning that we axiomatized, I derived and proved speciality is special with an ITY, literally infinite uniqueness, natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism, and then that conceptualization of sensorality, right? When do we censor speciality, right? Nudity gets censored, vulgarity gets censored, but we have a clear conceptualization of what we're doing. And we have a clear linguistic inconsistency. I have senses with an S, my microwave does not have senses with an S. I am a sensor with an S, my microwave is not a sensor with an S. So we have a clear inconsistency that we're resolving linguistically, but overall it produces this definition. And so what is forefront at my mind is sufficiency, right? We're all protons and electrons in stabilized dynamics, but that's a desk. This is a notebook. This is a sweatshirt or a jumper if you're in the UK, bruv. But we have different words to differentiate different things. And so sufficiency, right? We have sufficient uniqueness. Speciality is infinite uniqueness in another part of its derivation or its definition. But, right, how is sensorality sufficiently distinct or different from speciality? Natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism, infinite uniqueness, we kind of chop that down to uniqueness. Speciality last time conceptually we mapped to teasing, and it is. But all of this, bringing all of this together, how does sensorality relate to speciality? What do we censor? Do we censor specialness? But in general, right, any definition, all of these different words are sufficiently differentiated. That's what a definition is. It contains different meaning. And so we're trying to find this sufficient differentiation of speciality to stabilize sensorality. So what does sensorality stabilize? Some part of speciality. What's the opposite of being special? Being the same. But it has to be distinct enough and direct enough to be a working definition. So what's at the forefront of my mind is sufficiency. And then we're going to go through the derivation steps and we're going to re-arrive at sufficiency for the direct linguistic preservation of pronunciation. And so moving through our derivation steps. Is antagonism unique? Right? Sexual antagonism. Antagonism teases. And that kind of even takes away sexual antagonism. Antagonism is its own thing. But teasing in general doesn't have to be sexual, but it's certainly antagonistic. Is algorithmicality unique? Right? Is there more than one algorithm? right? Our variables that are well-defined, that are established, that we're still kind of like sensorality for sure is trying to what we're figuring out. That's our axiomatic definition. But algorithm is another one of these big words that we use. It is a direct linguistic or direct iteration of the syllability of logarithm. And so, again, all of this coming together. I have to get all of this to come together. And so, from rhythm to algorithm, algorithm is the chronological sequential element that we've isolated, and then sensorality is this, again, not word form that we've progressed and iterated. Again, algorithms are filters. Censorship is filtration, showing some sort of unity linguistically of these concepts. But is there more than one algorithm, right? Just this overall not sentient filtration of physics, right? What is antagonism to algorithm, right? Now emphasizing the word forms, antagonism, algorithm, right? That G, our seventh letter, our iteration element, numerically. But what is antagonism to an algorithm? Is antagonism algorithmic? An algorithm is a filter. A theme is a focus. Right, connecting focus, foci, stimuli, eyes are foci. Right, if you focus on something, it's a theme. A recurring theme is a motif. The focus is motif. Motive, motif. What is a vowel to a verb? Again, just this verb noun chronology. You clearly put ing at the end of words to make it a verb. You clearly have a lot of forms like sing, or singing, winging, flinging, or just this base-ing syllable to represent vibration, directly, literally, empirically. But again, what is the chronology of emergence of word, noun and verb? Does it come at the same time? Again, is differentiation overall, energy or radiation to mass, conceptualization exists to not that. Again, I think it's one differentiation produces two things effectively simultaneously. Is that where simultaneity makes sense? Again, spontaneity doesn't make sense. How about simultaneity? But a vowel to a verb. Again, verb, vibe, vibration, resonance. That's the physical, empirical things that I'm making sounds. And then I'm breaking that sounds with consonants. And you can hear that breaking, that discreteness as different words. And it's consistent, and that's why you can follow along. But a vowel and a verb, vowels vibrate. Nouns have vowels, verbs have vowels. What is a vowel to a verb? What is sensation to density? Sensorality filters antagonism. Synergy is the opposite of antagonism. The opposite of teasing is easing. So now if you tease somebody, you get them all riled up, well, then you ease that. But emphasizing the linguistic differentiation when we're trying to find this difference between speciality and sensorality as a direct linguistic evidence. And overall, we're progressing this derivation process and the realization is inevitable, but pointing out all of the analytical steps because you've not seen this analysis before, but teasing and easing, right? You just put consonants in there. But logically, it's clearly different and oppositional. Sensorality eases teasing. Sensorality is easing. Sensorality is easy season. Ease season, emphasizing that season is a form of ease. What is experientiality to evidentiality? Last time we did the dent from sensor. We showed that complete iteration to dent. It's the base of identity and the base of evidence. And evidence is the base of science. What is experience to evidence? Right? Experience produces evidence, evidence produces experience, posing the question, moving along. What is analogy to analysis? Emphasizing the syllability changing, right? Analogy is a well-defined word, analysis is a well-defined word. It's the same conceptualization. We're showing this linguistic representation differentiating from the same universal concepts experience. Are examples analogies or metaphors? back to that fundamental dichotomy that you've been exposed to many times throughout your life, the difference between an analogy and a metaphor. Metaphors are the same conceptualization using different syllability, right? The reason you have analogies using like or as is because it's not the same thing. Metaphors are to this identity, conceptual identity. Analogies are examples that are not the same thing. Is analogy sensory? Sensorality is analogous. Orality logs. Again, direct theorem derived from the syllability of sensorality is analogous. Then you just have orality logs. Logs record. What does an algorithm record? Analogous, viscous. Sensorality is analogosity. Just generalizing analogy. What is logic to logistics? Distribution is logisticality. Transportation is distribution. Analogosity, generosity. Right, analogous, analogosity, yeah. Generosity is bright. Sensorality is energious. So now we're back to, again, these fundamental physics proper, but modifying the syllability. Or what is energious? Well, sensorality now. Because again, we have to iterate. Well, we iterate we're integrating the concept. It's not meaningful to make a differentiation between integration and iteration right now. But again, this is showing progressing the consistency of the axiom. Sensorality is energiosity. What is justice to generous? Again, that J to the G, or the G to the J, J to the G, but generous justice. Sensorality is generous with justice. And that's kind of the conceptualization when people say swift justice. Sensorality is swift justice. Sensorality paraphrases. Orality phrases. Censored is sorted, and that is a natural definition. Right, we're going to get you sorted out. Right? It literally produces the word sword with a T in there. And so that T is, again, some sort of functionality of stabilization as well. Right? Consensual, consent. It does something with the discreteness, does something with the differentiation, moving along. But censored is sorted, natural definition. What is classification? So we had another episode, again, back in the hundreds. Again, I look at none of the things I do previously. But we had category, set, and group. Were kind of like the three big words to mean plurality that we were discussing. What's the difference? We kind of settled on category as like the most general, or again, highlighting some intuition of category being, right, a set is set, a group is a group, but a category being, right, you have category theory. I guess you have group theory, just words meaning more than one. How about a class? Don't know if we pointed out specifically, but it definitely came back up. And so what is a class to a category? Sensorality sorts evidence. Density, evidence. Density, dense. And that's a natural definition. Sensorality senses evidence. Sensorality condenses sense. Sensorality senses density. Obvious is literal. Literality is obviality. Sensorality is obviality. Highlighting viality is vile with an ITY, obviality is viality with an OB. Moving along. Orality is obviality. That's natural definition. The things you say are literally physical movements, and then you formalize that to have meaning, but it's just the result of movement. That's what sound is, and sound's the base of language. That's why all language pairs directly to physical processes, because that's where it comes from. But then enough of the syllability from orality. Sensorality is obviality. Right? Sensorobviality. Again, trivial steps, but again, just emphasizing that we're in this part of differentiating syllability. Sensorality obviates. Obviate, deviate. What is evidentiality to eventuality? Eventually the evidence will come to light. The truth will make itself known. right? All scientific realization is inevitable. The truth, oh, the truth, it's inevitable. Inevitability is eventuality. Event, eventual. Sensorality is the pace of peace. Again, syllability is like preserves the form of language. When I say the structure of language, now I mean specifically syllability, right? The pace of peace kind of sounds like the Prince of Peace because it's the same syllability. Tempo is pace. What is pace to intensity? More pace, more intense. What is timing to tempo? How does synchronization relate to pace? What is spacing to pacing? He's pacing back and forth in a tight space. What is spacing to timing? Right place, wrong time, wrong place. It's really spacing and timing. What is pacing to timing? Your velocity to your synchronization. Just some conceptualizations, that a bunch of them hit me at the same time. Again, we're just progressing to a single result. If any one step seems more intuitive than the next, it isn't. It isn't. Hypothesizing is synthesizing. That is a natural definition. The sizing, with some prefix in front. Hypotheses are synthesized. Now back to this focuses, foci, hypotheses. Again, what is that plurality thing going on? Synthesized, sensorized. Movement goes, function does. Just seemed like a meaningful differentiation. Movement is to go, function is to do. What is the difference between work and movement? Work requires movement. But are they the same thing? Nope, they're different words. They're sufficiently different by linguistics and conceptualization. Yes, again, we're now in the environment where we've proven different words have different meanings. No, it can't be. Don't tell Harvard, it's crazy work, crazy business. But what's the difference between work and movement? Work requires movement. Does movement require work? Is it one and the same? Again, these aren't deep questions. It's just, again, pointing out, exhausting literally all of the conceptualization that goes into the derivation of sensorality. Once we definitively have the stabilizing syllability, all of the intuition resolves and goes away. Again, if you're one of the people that are watching this full derivation, go out into the world. Who's talking about sensorality? Nobody. We just have to pair this concept and show this linguistic mapping to a word form, to a saying, to a phrase that people say all of the time. Again, this is like the background. We're filling in the logic to language that you use. We're undifferentiating, which is like the most unnatural thing you can do. Literally by this sense that we can't break this irreducibility and have to use cumbersome prefixes. Excuse me. Domain is dominant. That is a natural definition. What is domain? Dominance. It's literally the same syllables. Dominance is domain. Natural definition. Domain is dominion. What is speciality to sufficientiality? So now we have this, again, several word forms, specifically our main axiom, and we're almost back to axioms, but, right, everything is seeking optimal efficiency. If any, right, look around you, what physical system is not tending to optimal efficiency? But now how do you generalize the word efficiency? All of these words that end in a CY. We've gone through some of them. Some of them have been cumbersome. We have a C-ality sometime, but it's really she-ality, speciality, special, special, sufficient, she. Just like the pronoun she, he, she. But when you generalize these words that end in a CY completely, is sheality. And so what is speciality to sufficientiality? Sufficiency is special. That is a natural definition. Sensorality is sufficientiality. Is science sufficient? And so, clearly still not at the final reduction, but we're at this point of syllability. Speciality, 5 syllables, specie. The second element of speciality is the she, and then sufficienciality is the fifth syllable. So now 2 to 5, again, the numeric limits work themselves out trivially. The whole entire linguistics, this whole structure, from rhythm to algorithm, we find the stabilizing syllability. I know I think of a shout out to a random shout out, but to Steve Clay, my old soccer coach. I don't even know if he's still alive. When I start talking, like my saliva gets like stuck in my teeth, and I can see it when I'm editing. And he used to do that, so I think of him when I'm editing now because my saliva gets stuck in my teeth. Random shout out. But regardless, that is what I have for today. Again, just working up to this natural definition. There's nothing. I'm making YouTube videos. You can see this whole derivation. I just fire off all of the logic is contained within the letters. That is what I have for right now. My rights continue to be violated. It is profoundly and extensively illegal. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. I am not exaggerating in any capacity whatsoever when I say I've completely given up on ever living a life, ever having a family or a career, but to still squander my capacity. I want to wake up and do movie reviews and do this and do that and do languages and do this, and I can't because of money. It's fucking insane. You continue to waste the most prolific intellectual capacity that has ever been documented, and nobody cares because it's Brad. And that's always what it's been. Fuck Brad, fuck Brad, fuck Brad. Here's some more free science. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.